This week on Online Wipe,
the elite, the classist elite.
professional BBC pisshead has a run-in with Tommy Robinson. While conducting an interview with Tommy Robinson, BBC's John Sweeney was confronted with an audio recording of himself giving an unflattering comparison of the working class.
I've met Danny. Danny was, I was working on some film on Newsnight, and Danny was in the green room. It was unusual to meet a white working class male in the Newsnight green room, and it was so unusual that me and one of my mates, we went down there to have a drink with him in the way that you would do with somebody from the, a cannibal from the Amazonian, from Amazonia, or maybe a creature from outer space.
The incident would not represent the first time Sweeney has mischaracterised the working class, as shown by his report of the death of a Polish man killed in a street fight in the wake of Brexit.
The killing of Arek Józwik, a 40-year-old Pole in Essex, was a particular tragedy and cause for a wider, more general unease about the politics of identity in Britain today. Saturday night, just before midnight, 15 or 20 youths are here in their trouble. Arek, the Polishman, goes to that pizza restaurant behind me. His phone rings, he answers it in Polish, and that, people say, is the trigger for what happens next. The story ends with Arek down on the ground where those flowers are there now, a dying man.
The story was widely used by cynical Remain supporting media to discredit the Leave vote. The story on the BBC, bound by duty to be impartial, would prove to be inaccurately reported by Sweeney, who himself is pro-EU.
The European Union and NATO are two things which have meant there's been no horrible war between the big powers in Europe. Let's not throw that legacy away.
Having nothing to do with Brexit, in court it was revealed Józwik had been drinking and started a fight with a group of youths. He was tragically killed when his head hit the concrete after being knocked unconscious by one of the boys. Not only is it strange that veteran journalist John Sweeney thinks it's appropriate to quote the source People Say, but also that the BBC accepted this and went to air with it. It's the sort of journalism you'd find out on a school playground.
A regime that uses poison gas, people say. And people say, this may not be true, this may be unfair and wrong, but people say that Trump is a sexaholic. Some people say, Trump denies it, that if he looked at the tax returns, there would be no money paid to tax. Kabbalah Center is a cult, people say.
People say if you sneeze with your eyes open, your eyebrows fall off. People say that John Sweeney is a psychopath. Oh no, wait, John Sweeney says that.
Church of Scientology says that I'm a bigot, a liar and psychotic, and of course they're right about that.
Also among the revelations made by Robinson was Sweeney's licence payer-funded booze binges.
Here I am, on expenses, in a boozer, with the dog and the fire. Okay. I think we should have one more bottle of wine. Fuck it, no expense spared. 2 brandies, 2 limoncellos. This is creme de cassis.
People say that the world of journalism is littered with alcoholics. Oh no, that's actually the Sunday Mail's Peter Hitchens who says that.
Most of us, particularly in my trade of newspaper journalism, have seen alcohol destroy individuals before our very eyes.
This would not be the first time the licence fee had been used to fund Sweeney's alcoholism. In 2007, the BBC would send Sweeney to Russia to test vodka.
Vodka. Russia's wonderful and most favourite drink.
Ostensibly for the purpose of investigating poisonous counterfeit vodka, Sweeney took every opportunity to indulge his personal vice.
I'm very happy to drink any amount of vodka and to see how pissed I get, whatever. To crack this, I needed to get my hands on a bottle. Let's have a sniff.
Journalistikere.
That's all right. He seemed sure it was pure moonshine. This is Samagon. It's a little bit chemical. And to be frank, you don't know what you're drinking.
Fool, Sweeney. What have I done to myself?
means that this sample does not contain chloride ion and...
Thank you very much. I can drink some more of it then.
Headlines in the mainstream media of the subsidising of Sweeney's stupor and his comparison of the working class to uncivilised cannibals has been notable by their absence. People say that journalists avoid criticising each other in public. Oh no, it's actually Sky News' Kay Burley who says that. Although Sweeney has yet to respond to the recordings, it would appear he is not quite living up to his own standards.
To be rude to people, you're on the way to demonising them, and you're on the way to it's a journey, but you can end up killing somebody you're very rude about because they're not really human, are they? There are such things as facts, and you can arrive at them. Clearly, you've got to be well evidenced. You've got to stick them out there, and like me, like any good reporter, if he writes something to his audience, but if he writes something that is rubbish, and he knows to be rubbish or flimsy, it'll bite him on the arse.
In fact, it is possible that Sweeney is not living up to the BBC standards, as there is currently an investigation. This wouldn't be the first time Sweeney has been in trouble for his conduct.
The BBC editorial guidelines, and there's a guideline called 4.2.1 which says that you should give a subject the impartiality it is due. I know these off by heart because I get into trouble so much. So it also spooks out management.
The clips released by Robinson are teasers for a documentary he's releasing later this month. Billed as an expose of the biased BBC, it has lubricated calls for it to be binned. Although the BBC is funded by people who are completely alien to it, I think it's rash to suggest that we should dispose of the entire institution. Besides, the last thing I need is the load of out-of-work journalists being dumped out onto the market, especially since BuzzFeed are now making a habit of it. A media organisation that isn't completely subservient to commercial forces is an important institution to retain, just as long as John Sweeney isn't in it.
And I just love the fact the great British public that currently pay my wages supported me to the hilt.
People say that John Sweeney is merely a dough replica of Santel's crack-riddled younger brother who's been dredged from the bottom of a pond, decorated with belly button fluff, and then glazed with flob sweat. I know that's me that says that.
Play the next bit. Play
But what's happened is the Labour Party doesn't do its job properly for that end of the population. Well, the point is, you hear much more accents like yours and mine, rather than fuck off, or rather than Tommy's.
Well, you're right about one thing, John. Fuck off.
I'd like to thank the great British public who pay my wages,